Japan's got a new leader, Sanae Takaichi, and her economic plan is already making some serious waves in the global markets. You know, her vision could totally shake up the value of the yen, and, get this, it might have a direct impact on Japan's real estate market, which is usually known for being super stable. So let's follow the breadcrumbs and see how these things connect.
So here's the big question, right? With this major political change, what's it actually going to mean for one of the most watched property markets in the world? We're about to break down that whole chain reaction for you.
All right, first things first. To really get what's happening with these policies, you gotta understand the person who's calling the shots. So who exactly is Sanae Takaichi, and what's the big idea driving her economic plan?
Okay, so this is the moment it all kicked off. October 4th, 2025. Takaichi grabs the top spot in the LDP, which pretty much sealed the deal for her to become Japan's next leader. And believe me, the markets noticed right away.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of what's driving her. See, these policies aren't just about a quick economic boost. They're being framed as a major investment in national strength. We're talking things like energy security and propping up critical industries. This whole vision of a strong Japan is the bedrock for everything else we're about to see.
So what's the game plan? Well, her economic strategy basically rests on three core pillars. Let's take a quick look at what they are.
All right, here they are. First, some immediate help for everyday people who are struggling with high prices. Second, and this one's a bit controversial, is sticking with low interest rates. And third, a long-term plan for growth that she's calling wise spending. We're gonna see how each one of these creates its own kind of ripple effect.
So that first pillar is all about instant relief. You're talking about things like getting rid of certain gas taxes and giving more subsidies to small businesses and farmers. For now, the plan is to pay for all this with money they already have and extra tax revenue. But yeah, the question of how to fund it long-term is definitely still out there.
Okay, and this is where the rubber meets the road. These decisions aren't just happening in a bubble. They are creating some powerful ripples all across Japan's financial markets.
So here is the absolute key. While pretty much the rest of the world has been jacking up interest rates to fight inflation, Takaichi is digging in her heels. She's insistent that Japan should keep its policy of monetary easing, basically keeping rates low. And that one decision, it sets off a huge chain reaction.
And boom, this is the first big consequence. With low rates in Japan and higher rates everywhere else, money just flows out of the yen and its value drops. It's a classic double-edged sword, right? It's amazing for exporters like the big car companies. Their profits go through the roof. But it's really tough on households that have to pay more for imported stuff like food and fuel.
But wait, the market reaction wasn't done. After she won, the yield on Japan's 10-year government bond, which is a really key indicator for long-term interest rates, hit a high that we have not seen in 17 years. 17! That is a massive signal from the market. So why did that happen? Well, because investors are looking at her wise spending plans and the inflation relief, and they're thinking the government's going to have to borrow a lot more money to pay for all this. And when the government borrows more, it creates more bonds, which pushes their prices down and their yields or interest rates up.
So now, let's connect the dots. Let's see how all these financial ripples, the weak yen, the rising bond yields, all come together and crash right into our main question, the real estate market.
Okay, this is probably where it hits home for the average person. Because the central bank is keeping its short-term policy rate low, those variable rate mortgages, they're probably going to stay cheap. But, and this is a big but, because those long-term bond yields are on the rise, fixed-rate mortgages are now in danger of getting more expensive. This creates a huge fork in the road for anyone thinking about buying a home.
And hey, it's not just about the mortgages either. A whole bunch of different factors are now all pushing property prices up. The weak yen makes imported building materials more expensive. Takaichi's big public works projects mean more demand for construction workers. A rising stock market creates what they call a wealth effect. You know, when people feel richer from their investments, they're more likely to buy big things like a house. And for buyers from other countries, that same weekend makes Japanese real estate look like a total steal. It's really a perfect storm of upward pressure. So let's pull this all together. What's the bottom line for Japan's property market? Where does all this leave us?
It really all boils down to this one major tug of war. On one side, you've got the short-term good news. Cheap, variable rate loans are keeping demand alive. But on the other side, you've got these long-term risks, rising construction costs, and the possibility of higher fixed mortgage rates, which could start squeezing buyers right out of the market.
This is the tightrope that the market's going to be walking.
And that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Takaichi's vision, it's ambitious. She's aiming for national strength, for economic growth. But the risks of ballooning debt and market jitters are very, very real. So, can her plan for a strong Japan actually create a healthy cycle of growth, or will the final build just prove to be too high? Well, only time will tell.